Hey everyone, so in this video I want to show you a modification that I have done on the expense module, and I would also like to clarify a question that I have been asked by a number of people online, why I decided to build this expense module and yet we have an expense claim module in ERPNext. So to answer that first, the expense claim module we have on ERPNext is basically an employee thing, so employees can claim whatever they have spent through that module. Now what I have built here is not only for employees but rather a one-stop place where you can manage all the expenses, whether they belong to employees or they are company expenses. So for instance, you see here paid by, we have two options. We have employee to reimburse, and that is what requires you to enter the employee. And by the way, if I was not logged in here as an administrator, it would have fetched this employee here. So if you log in as an employee, it's going to fetch here. And then here we have company expenses. So company expenses does not require an employee, and this means it was paid by the company and therefore is not an expense to be reimbursed to anyone. So this is a place where you can manage all the expenses within your business, within your company. That's number one. Now, a friend of mine asked whether we can include a place where we can manage taxes here, like VAT and other types of taxes. And yes, I have built that in. So in the breakdown here, I'm going to be showing you how we can do that. Now remember, going back here, let me open another tab so that I don't close that. We have these expense taxes, and if you go to expense taxes, you see that I have added another expense tax here called gas. It's just a type of, just a sample. If I open it, you see I've described it as gas. I have given it 4%, and then here I have to select the expense account, or rather not expense rather but the tax account. So you will need to create all the expenses, taxes that are eligible for your business. Like for instance, VAT, give it the percentage. Here in Kenya it's 16, in other countries it's 15, and so on. Then here you need to select the tax account. So here again I have filtered by only the accounts which are of type tax, so as you make sure you have created that account in your chart of accounts. So that's it. Let's go and add an expense and let's see how that reflects in the books of accounts. So let's say for instance this was meeting a client in just meeting a client is sufficient. The category we are going to say this is marketing expenses, and then the date. Here again, of course, you cannot select a future date. So let's say for instance this was on 14th of March, and then we are going to say this is of course like a company expense, so it doesn't need to be reimbursed. So let's go ahead and say that we spent 9,000 on this one, and then here this is where we are going to break down the taxes. For instance, meals, we can say meals took us let's do 3,500, and we can say this was VAT, so this was VAT is applicable here. We can also have another one, and I'm going to say this is mobile credit, say 1,000, and again I'm going to say VAT, not gas, sorry, but VAT is applicable. And then I'm going to go ahead and say there is also transport. What is the difference here? The difference is 4,500. Let me put all of it here and say here now this one gas is applicable. Note that gas may not make a lot of sense here, but all I want is that you get the concept. So you can even record different types of expenses here, or not expenses, sorry, but taxes, and the system is automatically going to add those into your respective tax accounts that you have selected, or rather that you have added here. All right, and I think I need to rename this, so I'm going to change this from VAT to tax. By the time you find it, it's going to be tax. All right. So when we have that, you can see that the system automatically calculates the amounts for you. So this is 4% of 4,500. The 4% is inclusive of this 4,500, which is 180. So I have assumed that in this amount, this percentage is inclusive. So it's not going to be a different figure. This amount is inclusive in this. So the system will of course do a reverse engineer to get the actual amount of the meals minus VAT. So we go ahead and save that. minus of course VAT or any other kind of tax that you're going to be adding there. Then we click on create report. When we create report, this is going to go ahead and create this report of course, and then it's going to be subjected, remember, to the workflow that we discussed earlier in my previous video, and then we approve. Once we approve, this now requires that we create journal entries, right? So let's go ahead and just click on create journal entries. We need to select an account, remember, which is the paying account. Let's say it's our NCBA account again, and then we save it, and then we go ahead and create the journal entries. Now when we create the journal entries, see the system here says journal entries created. So let's open an account here and go to journals, right? Journal entry. There should be a journal created now. You can see it is here, and we can see the amount is 9,000. Let's open inside, and here we can see that we have NCBA credit of 9,000. We have sales expenses 8,100. So the reverse engineer that I was telling you about has happened here. And now here we have two things. We have VAT at 720, and we have the sample account at 180. If we go back to our expense, let me take you back here, this one, and we go here, you see we had two VATs. So the first VAT was for 560 and the second one was for 160. So the two of them is what is making this 720 that you are seeing here. So again, the system aggregates. If one account appears multiple times, the system does the summation. Then of course it increases those for all the other accounts. For instance, here you can see we had a gas for 180, but the account that was attached to gas was sample account. And where am I getting that? If we go here, you remember here when we went here, there was gas at 4% and the tax account was this one. So that is how the system has been wired, and those are being recorded there. Again, please let me know what your thoughts are. If there is any improvements that need to be done here, I said I'm committed to it. Let me know what you think. Remember, again, this thing is open source. It is up out there. Get it, fork it, install it on your instance, use it, and let me know what your thoughts are. Again, don't forget to leave me a star on GitHub. It's of course going to help a lot. Thank you so much, and see you in my next video.